If I have to write an equation, and again, this is page 8 in the packet. So if I have to write an equation in slope-intercept form, two things I have to know. One is the slope. Okay, these are the two things. And one is the y-intercept. You want to write that down. All right, so those are the two things I must know. I must find the slope, and I must be able to determine the y-intercept. So going back to our previous lesson, can I find the slope if I know 2 points? What's the answer to that? Yes, okay, because I can use the slope formula. So let's take number 28. Okay, we'll start with that one. And the very first thing I'm going to do is find the slope. So I'm going to write down the slope formula. Everybody write it down. So I write down my slope formula. I'm using the points that are in question number 28. And I'm going to write those over here. So this is my x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so the first set of points are your 1s, second set of points are your 2s. Now I'm just going to go ahead and place them in the formula. So I'm going to say m equals 5 minus 3 and 2 minus 0. So that's going to give me what? 2 over 2, which equals 1. So I know my slope is 1. Okay, so I have this number right here. Now I'm going to ask you a question. If I know this number here, and I can plug in an x and a y, because I have 2 sets of points I could use for an x and a y, is there a way to get b? If I know this number, and this number, is there a way to find out what that number equals to? Yes, I could solve it, correct? It's just like solving an equation. So if I know 3 out of the 4 variables, I can always solve for the one that's missing. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to write down the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And now we are going to actually put in all the numbers except for b and solve it for b. Okay, now you might ask, well, which number should I use for my x and y? It doesn't matter. You can use this for your x and y, or you can use this number. Okay, I like to use numbers that have 0. So I'm going to replace my y with what number? Right, 3, because I'm using the first set of points. I just found my m to equal to what? 1, very good. And then my x is what? 0 plus b. Okay, so anything times 0 is 0. That was pretty easy. So, right, b equals to 3. So now I have the 2 things I needed, b and m. So who can tell me how to write this in slope-intercept form? Because I have the 2 numbers that I need to put it into that y equals mx plus b form. Yes?
Y equals 1x plus 3.
All right, and we actually just say y equals x plus 3. We do know there is an invisible 1 here, but we actually do not write it. Okay, and that's the process you would take if you just know 2 points. Find your slope first, and then solve for b. Okay, because once you have m and b, you're ready to go. All right, any questions on that? Okay, we're going to do one more like this. Okay, one more. So let's do question number 29. Okay, you should have enough space to continue. I'm going to just erase mine, but you should have enough space here at the bottom to continue. All right, so what is the first thing I'm going to do? It tells you right here, find the what? Find the slope. All right, so this is 29. M equals x sub 2, y sub 2. minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. All right, so here are my numbers. I have negative 2, 4, 3, negative 1. Okay, I'm going to say x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to have negative 1 minus 4 at the top. 3, well, 3 minus a negative 2 is really what? Plus 2. All right, so that gives me negative 5 over 5, which equals to what? Negative 1. Very good. So I got my slope. The next thing I need to do is solve for b. All right. So I got my slope. So now I'm going to write down y equals mx plus b. And I get to choose which set of points or coordinates I'm going to use for my x and y. And just make sure, guys, you take the whole pair. Like you can't take an x from this pair and then take the y from this pair. So whichever pair you use, you got to use the x and the y. So if I use the first pair, I'm going to replace y with what? 4. My m is negative 1. And what is my x? Negative 2. All right. A negative times a negative is a what? Positive. Solve for b. So b equals to what? 2. Very good. There's my second number. So I have the main two numbers I need to know to write it in slope-intercept form. And who can put those two numbers together to tell me what the final equation is? All right, go ahead. Excellent. Y equals negative x plus 2. And again, we don't write negative 1x. And when you're doing your homework on MathSpace, also don't put in negative 1x. Put in negative x, because it's going to tell you to continue. And then you're going to say, well, what's wrong? What's wrong is you're putting the 1. Okay, so just make sure you pay close attention to that.